Thank you for today's interview. I'm very interested in art and will ask a little bit more about the history, about some objects, and if you tell me a few stories and something like this. First of all, I would like to ask something about this glass painting. Can you tell me how do you get it and what's the history behind this?
Well, thank you. So the stained glass window I purchased up in Lincoln, probably almost 20 years ago. In an antique shop directly across from the cathedral in Lincoln. I lived there for several years. And the wooden frame I had built by a craftsman down in Italy, because I lived there for about 10 years. So that came out of an old church. And it's part of a series of stained glass windows about an incident that occurred in 1193. And this particular window, or stained glass window, part of that series, shows a gentleman delivering a message. I don't recall the rest of the history. I'd have to read about it again. But it's the oldest antique here in the Burg. It's about 600 years old.
That's very old.
It's almost as old as the Burg itself.
And how much did you pay for this glass painting?
Yeah, so for the stained glass window. So when I walked into the antique dealer, I saw it, and it didn't have the price on it.
It's for free?
So I asked the gentleman, I said, how much are you asking for it? And he told me the price. Well, it was considerably more expensive than I could afford. And I don't remember the exact price, but it was more than I had available. But what I said to the gentleman was, could we do something like layaway? Now, he's a British gentleman, I'm an American. He wasn't familiar with layaway. So if you're not familiar with layaway, it's a pre-credit card kind of system in the US, in which if one wanted to purchase something, they would put a down payment, and they'd make a monthly payment over 3 months or up to 6 months, and then on their last payment, they would take the item away. We call it layaway. We don't do it anymore. There's no need for it. But that's what I asked the gentleman. And he made a phone call, because this was actually on assignment. The owner said yes, and I actually picked it up, made the last payment the day before I flew to Korea, because it was when I was leaving England. And I put it in the car, took it home, they boxed it up and shipped it to Korea.
So, my mom told me that you have a lot of old and very valuable books. Can you show me these and tell me a bit about them?
Yeah, of course. So I have a large book collection, but the older books I keep here in this particular trunk. So I actually just purchased this here in Germany. It belonged to a antique dealer's father, and it was in Berlin for many years. But these are the older books, or the oldest books that I have. So the bottom shelf are all 1800s. Not really old, but 1800s. and so are these. This collection of not very old books was a present for my birthday, actually. I had read Will and Harriet Durant's collection on the history of civilization parts when I was in college. And then my wife was kind enough to track down the entire collection from 1963.
That's amazing.
The year I was born, which I thought was very cool on her part. And down here on the top shelf, I have books from the 15, 16, and 1700s. These, of course, are in leather-bound casings that I purchased in Italy. Greek, Latin, English. And the oldest, I believe, is 1564. And that's the book on theology.
Something like this, I just do it in school. So when I study that, I don't have to do this extra years of studying Latin and something like this.
So even if you were very good in modern day Latin, you'd have difficulty reading this because the language has changed.
Mm-hmm. So I really like this clock. Can you tell me something about this?
Sure. So obviously that is an old grandfather clock. Mm-hmm. Purchased it here in Germany from the parents of very good friends of ours. And they transported it over, and the gentleman put it together. Mm-hmm. What most people don't realize, I think, and I certainly didn't realize about old grandfather clocks, is they require a lot of maintenance. So I probably have half a dozen old clocks of one form or another here in the Burg. Mm-hmm. And if I had time to do it properly every day, I would have to go around and set all the clocks, because these will lose time a minute or two a day. And the weights have to be raised because they go down. They're beautiful. The sound is amazing. Love it to death. Mm-hmm. But they are high maintenance.
So I hear that you went to Harvard. How was the time there? And can you show me the certificate?
Sure. So I did my senior executive fellowship at Harvard. Mm-hmm. When I was working for the United States government as a senior guy. We were all not particularly young folks. Hence, we were in the course for the senior executive fellowship. And it was an excellent, excellent course. Each day was full of really seminars with very senior people from around the globe. Mm-hmm. And they would speak about their experiences leading very large organizations, former prime ministers. I believe at Harvard, I know we had a meeting with a former chief of staff of the U.S. Army. I think it was at Harvard, but I may be mistaken. But the gentleman spoke about running an organization of 1 million people, 490,000 soldiers, 240,000 civilians, 200,000 contractors, all around the globe.
That's amazing.
It's very, very interesting insights. Harvard was fantastic. I have nothing but great memories of the place.
So someone also told me, my mom, that you are a knight. So how was the ceremony and how did this happen to you? Is there any special history behind this or something like this?
So that's true. So I'd been stationed in England for 6 or 7 years, mm-hmm. and I worked very well with the British. My mom was British, My dad met my mom in the UK during World War II. She was what we used to call a war bride. Came to the US, and there you have it. So I worked very well with the British. And one of the British gentlemen I worked with, who he had put me in for an award, which is the Military Order of the Collar. And in 2007, I actually went back to London and participated in the ceremony in which I was knighted. And that's the neck piece, that's the brochure from the ceremony. It was very nice. I greatly appreciate the gentleman doing that for me. Yeah, but it was one of the ceremonies. You're kneeling down, you were wearing a white cape, and there's an oath, and a gentleman uses a sword and taps you on the shoulders and on the forehead, just like one sees in the movies.
Can you also tell me something about this beautiful thing? I don't know what that is.
So that's actually a bell. So I was stationed in Korea for 2 years, 2006, 2007. Worked with probably the greatest U.S. Army intelligence officer in the post-World War II era, General Leger. Upon going away, a Naval Chief Petty Officer who I worked with, and the rest of the leadership, gave that to me as a going away present. And the Chief Petty Officer, there's a funny story because really good guy. But once he showed up wearing basketball kind of clothes, and I was like, Chief, you don't look like you. And I said, you look like you're back on the block. And I thought he was going to take it the wrong way. My intent was, hey, we are here to act as ambassadors and to present the positive side of the United States to our Korean allies and Korean partners. And he really did take it in a very positive way. I've always respected the man for that. This is the antique cabinet I bought from a lady down in Stuttgart.
It's amazing.
It's pretty cool. But again, it's one of those things that, my wife will say, why do you buy furniture you can't touch? Because, okay, so I don't know where the key's at, but it's one of those, it says, a fragile 300-year-old, 350-year-old cabinet. And you can see I've got on either side an old candlestick, an old stein, and an old vase.
Yeah.
So besides from the value of the cabinet, it's got 2,000 euros worth of stuff inside of it.
Playing around again.
Yeah, Diana will follow me around. It's kind of funny. Because she'll follow me, like I'll go, oh, I forgot something, and then she'll follow me back, and I'm like, oh, darn.
Show also does that. She's Show is the one who's hearing everything.
So what I'm hoping to do, maybe this year, is to be able to bring in Dachdecker, and I'd like to put a Holz mit Balken here.
That's cool.
It will be cool. Because right now it's like mein Gott.
So this room is full of treasures. I'm interested in these glasses right behind you. What are they made of and how do you get these?
So over the course of my life and travels, I've collected antiques. So most of the silverware came primarily from London. There used to be a fantastic antique market in an area of London called Angel. It's now closed down. It was very sad because they moved in Starbucks and McDonald's and God knows what else, when it was a beautiful, very quaint area, lots of antiques. The glassware from Italy and other places, just stuff I've been able to accumulate over the years.
My grandma would love this.
Yeah.
She really likes glass and also these stopper, I think.
Decanters?
She loves these and she's always searching for them, where she can find them. Yeah, I think she would love this.
I have 3 of these. 2 of those. Purchased them all down in London many years ago. In the same area, they're replicas, but the area was called Angel. It was fantastic. I would drive down to London almost every Saturday, spend the day there. And Angel was the first stop. I would drive down and park in Finsbury Park. They used to sell 24-hour 2 passes for probably £5 back then. And Angel was 1 stop south on the northern line out of King's Cross. And it was a quaint, beautiful area. Lots of little antique shops. There was one antique.
Can you tell me something about these wall hangings there, and maybe something about these old frames?
Yeah, sure. So the tapestry is a very famous, it's a reproduction tapestry of a scene in Venice. Obviously, Palazzo Ducale in the background. That's Piazza San Marco with a famous tower. So we purchased that over in Venice years ago when we were living there. I don't recall the exact celebration that's depicted there, but you will see it depicted quite often in Venice. This is a Limoges, which I bought in Paris years ago. The other pieces I've accumulated over the years. Some of the silverware again is from London. Most was purchased somewhere in between Germany, the UK, and Paris.
They are really beautiful.
Thank you. Put the big mirror up.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it would really look really good.
It would look really cool.
The floor looks really great. Was it already like this, or did you lay it like this?
Well, thank you. So this is part of the original floor. So this is somewhere close to 650 years old, I believe. And this is protected. So Denkmal shoots, when I spoke with them, I've mentioned that what we would like to do is try to put a type of cover on this so the floor isn't damaged. Maybe similar to the types of floors you will see in old cathedrals, like in Italy, in which part of it's maybe a clear plexiglass so one can look down and see it, yet not walk on it, because the material between these rocks is nothing more than dirt. So it's old, it's protected, what we have to do is it's somewhat uncomfortable to walk on.
Thank you for the interview and all this information. Thank you for letting us in and tell us all these stories.
Well, you're most welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you back. One of the things we would like to do is open the board to the public for events, for tours. It's crazy to us that there's a 600-year-old board here, and many people in this town, at the town of Hermanstein, and this city, the greater city of Wetzlar, have never been inside here because the previous owner did not open it up to the public. So we do hold events here. People come over, use the place, which is what I want. And I'd like to generate much more interest and potentially resources from the board.